In the schedule, what I need for you to notice is that my name is not Evan Casey, it's Even Casey, and that's just simply because I'm a pretty steady guy. Okay, that's what that means. I have a quick question for all of you before we get started. How many people can you fit in a Jeep Patriot?
Is this a trick question?
No.
Nope.
How many people do you think you can fit in a Jeep Patriot? Just yell out your answer.
7.
12.
6.
7.
You said 8. 8. Exactly. Thank you, my friend. If you don't believe me, just ask your JAG specialists, okay?
8.
I know, it's a silly joke.
8.
Guys, let me say this. I absolutely love JAG. I love it. It taught me so many life lessons, to work with you guys, to be one of you, to stand alongside of you, to, celebrate with you, to sometimes cry with you, to sometimes just, butt heads with you sometimes. And I love doing all of that. I loved it. But when I heard that they wanted me to come back again and speak, I said, okay, what in the world can I share with you guys? Because last year I kind of got creative and I was like, ooh, let me use the word JAG and use the letters and do something weird and silly with it, which I did. And it worked out fine, but I was like, you know what, look, let me just level with these guys this year. All I want to do is share some life lessons. That's it. Now, I know when I say that, all you guys hear and see is an old guy who's getting ready to tell you about yourself. Okay? No, that is not what I'm getting ready to do at all. I'm going to be vulnerable today. I'm going to tell you some things that I have done, both great and not so great. And I hope by doing that, you guys would understand the fact that the relationships that you form while you are part of this JAG family, not program, family. Those relationships you form during this time are so vital to the lessons that you will learn later in life. Okay? So I won't keep you long today. Matter of fact, I hope that you laugh at me. Okay? It's going to be great. You're going to learn things like, wow, he really did that. Yes, I did. Okay? All of this is true. But the first life lesson I want to share with each and every one of you is that you have to be curious. You've got to be curious about life. There's a great philosopher that once said, curiosity kills the cat. Okay? But the fact is that curiosity is actually the vibrancy of life inside of us. It's what makes us tick. I mean, if we're not curious about stuff, we would pretty much just be sitting in our homes, not doing anything. But you have to be curious about life. You've got to be curious about not only where you're going, but what other people are doing and what other people are thinking and how do they live and what do they know and how can I learn from that? Guys, please do us a favor. Show us adults how to properly be able to talk to each other even when we have differing values and ideas. Please do that. Because obviously in our world today, we're not very good at it. We love to yell and shout and do all these other things and try and convince people. And the one thing I always tell my girls is, girls, you have to listen and stop being so worried about convincing people. You got to listen to them. But that's what that curiosity does. I was a very, very curious kid. I mean, from day one, I was very curious. I was 7 years old. Does anybody know what a big wheel is? Okay, what a big wheel. Okay, those Gen Xers. Okay, yes, we know. Some of y'all are like, okay, my dad, mom talked about this thing. It was this big piece of plastic that they have shaped in the form of like a tricycle. Okay, it was a kind of grown-up kid's Chrysler. You know, I went from like the little, compact car, I was able to get into Cadillac. That's what it was called, okay? It was called a big wheel. And the reason why it was called a big wheel is, yes, you can guess, right in the front was this big wheel, okay? And if you had like the really good big wheel, you had a big wheel with a little clicker at the front so people hear you coming. You know, it's like, like that. It's like, okay, I'm coming down the neighborhood. I was awesome on this thing. Loved it. And so one day I'm riding my big wheel, and usually that's what I was thinking as a kid, okay? I was like, let me think about the universe, and let me figure out how I can make this world better. And all of a sudden a thought came to my mind. I was like, you know what? I think I could walk to my grandma's house from here. Now, my grandmother's house is probably 10 miles away. We lived in a little town called Gallipolis, Ohio, okay? Actually, you could look out our back porch and you can see one of the tributaries leading to the Ohio River. That's how country we were, okay? I always say I grew up in West Virginia, all right? So I'm riding around, I'm like, I bet I could walk to Grandma's house. And so I get off my big wheel and I go inside the house, and Dad's there, and he's cooking and doing stuff, and it's a weekend, and Mom's doing her thing. And I'm like, hey, can I go to Grandma's? And Dad was like, well, yeah, we'll go a little bit later. So I do what any normal kid does. I go to Mom when I don't get my way, right? I mean, you talk to one parent and they're like, no. It's like, okay, we'll go over here. So I go to Mom, and I'm like, Mom, can I go to Grandma's? And she goes, well, yes, you can go to Grandma's, we'll figure it out. To a 7-year-old child, we'll figure it out meant nothing. All I needed to hear was, yes. A half hour passed after I walked out of the house, and my dad didn't hear the big wheel running. He's like, Carolyn, do you know where Evan is? She's like, I don't know. He's outside riding his big wheel. So they go outside, and they look. And just like off of Unsolved Mysteries, there was this, empty big wheel. Like, they're like, oh no. I mean, you can put yourself in a parent's shoes, right? Okay, he's probably around here somewhere. You don't freak out yet, so they go back in the house, they check the bathroom, they check my room, nothing there. They ask my little brother, who at the time is 4, how much information solid information you're going to get from a 4-year-old? Hey, where's your brother? That's the extent of his investigative skills. So now you start panicking, right? It's like, okay, he is not on the premises. This kid is like MIA. So they start walking around, and like I said, we have a tributary to the Ohio River in our backyard. So you're like, oh my gosh, oh no. So they go down there and they check, and they don't see any trace or anything of me and things, and they're freaking out. They're like, oh my gosh, what's happening? So Dad's like, Carolyn, call the police. And so Dad just bolts out the door. He starts running to the front yard because we got a big one. And the road runs right by it, and he starts running up and down the road like, Evan. And all of a sudden, this car comes up and sees him running. And this very nice lady stops, and she says, you wouldn't happen to be looking for a little boy in a red ball cap, are you? He goes, yes. Where is he? And she says, oh, he's halfway to Gallipolis, about 5 miles down the road. Now I exaggerate because that would be a 6-minute mile for a 7-year-old run. If you want to go ahead and say that about Evan, that would be great, This speaker in a 6-minute mile, he's 7, dude. So they freak out. And they get in the car, and we've got this brown station wagon with the, wood paneling on the side and, the hatchback where you could lay in at that time and you'd be fine, but if you did that now, you'd be put away. So they get in there and they speed down the road, and sure enough, here I am, this little kid, red hat, kicking rocks, just walking down the side, cars zooming by me. I knew where I was going. I knew exactly where I was going. The next thing I know, my mother is a very, very small woman. She's like this, okay? We affectionately call her Oompa Loompa when she's not around. That's an important thing. I remember my mother's arm her wingspan going from about 5 feet to 12 feet. She opened her door. I'm walking. I see Mom and Dad. I'm like, hey, Mom. And before I could get Mom out, she like grabs me. And I don't know how, because she like distorted time. It was like the Matrix. Like she went like this and brought me up and like threw me in the back seat and shut the door all at once. I couldn't figure it out. I was like, whoa. What? And so I'm sitting in the back seat and all I hear is and crying. And I'm like, what? I was just going to Grandma's. But I was always curious as a kid. I was like, how can I get there? I can make this. I know I can. Let me chart this. Let me get this. Let me do that. Guys, trust me. Never, ever lose that. Because if you lose your curiosity about life, then you lose, a lot of times, your will to live it. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. I worked for the Department of Child Services for 4 years. And I had a lot of young people on my caseload who merely existed in life. But one of the things I'm most proud of is being able to help them understand that life isn't about existing. Life is about living. And that's what you can learn from JAG. There's a lot of people in here, quite frankly, I know this for a fact, that has probably been told that you would probably not excel at all. That you probably would amount to, you might be middle of the road, you might be okay. I'm going to call it what it is. That's BS. Because each and every one of you guys have talent and ability that if you stay curious about your talents and abilities, and you learn from people that you may not even agree with, but you learn from, you will develop yourself into incredibly efficient and effective adults who will hopefully someday pour back in to young folk like yourself. Second lesson. Be curious. Love fearlessly. I am, what you would say, was a late bloomer. Okay? I was a late bloomer. If any of you go home and ask your parents or your guardians or your grandparents, wow, I said grandparents, oh my gosh, wow, I'm old. Ask them about the show Family Matters. And ask to see a picture of Steve Urkel. My friends, that was me. My girls still say I kind of favor it, okay? So I'm like, I don't have time for that negativity in my life. Thank you very much. That was me, okay? You all are a lovely bunch of folk compared to what I had to work with in high school, okay? Trust me. It was bad. But then all of a sudden, college hit. And I grew, and I was like, oh, wow, okay. I'm actually growing hair on my face. That's great. It's like, all right. I actually can shape a beard. Oh, good. And all of a sudden, I just became this hopeless romantic. Like, I just started talking weird. Like, instead of whenever I met a girl or something like that, I'd be like, hey, how you doing? I adopted the Joey Tribbiani. How you doing? See? Fellas? Take note, okay? You can talk like this with your fellas, like, hey man, what's up? And when, ladies around, you gotta be like, how you doing? The first time in my life this worked. The first time in my life this worked, I had met this incredible, athletic, and just fascinating young lady. I remember the first time I saw her, I was like, wow. I was like, oh wait, wow. I kind of went into Napoleon Dynamite mode, like, oh my gosh, it's the greatest person ever. So we started hanging out and all this stuff, and it was so awesome. It was so great. I got to know more about her. She got to learn more about me, and that kind of scared me because I'm kind of weird. And it was like it was okay with her anyway. And guys, the whole point of that is this, is that you will at times have your heart broken. You'll have your heart broken. You will like somebody, and it will inevitably happen that day comes that you're like, oh, okay, well, I didn't see that coming. Huh. You will want a job, and you get that job, and you're like, oh my gosh, I love this job. And then all of a sudden, someone walks up to you and says, you know what, we're going to have to furlough you. I'm sorry. We're going to have to let you go. You're going to have children, some of you, and you're going to look at that child and you're going to be like, I will do whatever it takes to make sure that you have a successful life. And then 16 years later, you're sitting in a courtroom for the third time. Yeah. Looking at your child saying, but I guarantee you, you will not stop loving that kid. You can't. So, let me take you back to my first love. It was a warm August day. And if you guys have ever seen the movie Hitch with Will Smith, you remember Hitch whenever he was like younger and in college? Yeah, that was me at that time. I was just like, this love you so much. Just like this. Well, because of that, my first love kind of felt just overwhelmed and was like, guy's kind of needy, okay? And I was. And I remember getting the news. I remember her saying to me, this just isn't going to work out. It was devastating, right? Because it's my first love. It's your first one, first person that you're like, you know, and so the whole heart ripping out, stomping on the ground, and you're like, oh my gosh, I will never, ever, ever recover from this ever again. But my advice to you is this, is that even during that time, whenever someone breaks your heart, you've got to take a look at yourself. You've got to recover because you've got so much more love to give. JAG teaches you that. If you don't believe me, ask your JAG specialist how many people they've seen come into the JAG family and leave the JAG family prematurely. Either because they decided to leave, or maybe they were forced to leave, and unfortunately in some of our cases, the fact that they left this earth before their time. We see it all the time. These people love you. They really do. And you've got to believe that. And the fact is, guys, that you got to love, you just got to love fearlessly. Ferociously, actually. Because each and every time you get your heart broke, guess what? The heart is very resilient, guys. It really is. You will bounce back. And you'll be better for it. Last thing I want to say is this, and let me wrap up because I've talked for too long, I think. Be curious. Love fearlessly. But the number one lesson I want you guys to get from today is this. Never, ever be untrue to yourself. You have to be brave. I stand before you today as somebody who is not very good at relationships. Okay? I'm not. I stink at it. I do. It's horrible. It's bad. I'm not good. However, I have 3 relationships that I am very, very, very good with. Those are my 3 daughters. It literally is us against the world. Those 3 little girls, I call them little girls. I even call the 18-year-olds little girls. I just do. They hate it, but that's just me. I'm like, get over here, little girl. She's like, I'm 18. And you're cramping my style, Dad. There's a really cute guy over there. Shut up, okay? I don't care. I'm dead. They recently convinced me to wax my eyebrows. There is video evidence of this on Facebook, or as I affectionately refer to it, the Facebook. The Facebook. I know. Here's how it happened. So it was a normal weekend. You know, we were hanging out, and my 18-year-old daughter, who's going to cosmetology school, decides to do this to me, but not tell me about it. They said, "Hey, can we go shopping?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. Let's go. You know, Dad, I need a new shirt, something. You know, I'm cool." And they're like, "Okay, whatever, Dad. Let's just go shopping." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." So we load up in the car and we go shopping. And they're like, "Dad, you go there. We got a store we got to go to." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't like going to all of your stores anyway, so I'm just going to go to Cabela's." Right? That's what we do, guys. Right? I mean, it's just what we do. It's like we drop the ladies off and then we just go to Cabela's. It's like, okay, let's just go. So, unbeknownst to me, they went to Sally's beauty store and bought some stuff. Now, when they got the bag and they brought it back to the Jeep, I was like, "Oh, okay, well, they went to Sally's." And I noticed on top this box that said wax strips. What? "Oh, it's nothing, Dad. It's nothing. I'm like, "Okay, well, hopefully that's for you, because I'm not planning on going to the beach anywhere soon. Or, you know, sorry, that's not my thing. Not my thing." So we get home, and literally all three of them start to guilt me. Right? They're like, "Oh, Dad, oh, we got it. Please, Dad, please, let us do this. Please, Dad." And they're all like this, and I'm like, "Okay, fine." And they pull this box out, and I was right. It was wax strips. And I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" And they're like, "Dad, look at yourself." I'm like, "What does that mean?" "You were supposed to love me." You know? So they hold up a mirror, and I look at myself, and I look at my eyebrows, and I'm like, oh. Because they were like this. I mean, just like, "Hey, how you doing?" They had a life of their own. They were waving bye-bye to people. I was like, "Okay." So I sit down, and they're like, "Where's your phone?" And I'm like, "It's over there." And they prop it up and start recording. I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" They're like, "Oh, nothing. We may use this for our YouTube channel." And I'm like, "Okay, that's good." So my one daughter, who's a cosmetologist, puts the first strip on, like just on top, right? Just right here. And so she does it. She goes, "Dad, here's what I'm going to do." She was very professional, just awesome. I can't wait till she does this, because I'm like, "Oh, your daddy's little retirement plan. Excellent, you're good. What to do? Move me in wherever you're at. I'm good to go." She explains everything to me, and she goes, "Okay, Dad, I'm going to count to 3. Did she count to 3? No. That's what professionals do, right? They're like, "Okay, I'm going to count to 3, and they really don't. So she's like, 1, bam, like this. But she goes with the hair. I learned this. You go with the hair, the way it's growing, and then immediately apply pressure to it. And she did that. And I was like, "That's not bad." My other 18-year-old, bless her heart, that's a southern term for those of you who don't know that. Bless her heart. You know something bad's about to happen. She is an exercise science major, which means she's like, "Come on, let's go, let's do this." No idea what she's doing. None. She just slaps that thing like right here, like just. I mean, it's like a piece of bologna. She just like, bam, like this. I'm like, "Do you know what? Did you see the shape?" "Oh yeah, I got this, Dad." So she does the count. 1, 2, 2.5. I'm like, "Just do it." She grabs the end of the strip and rips it the wrong way. If you ever watch Looney Tunes and you see Wile E. Coyote in this little shack in a train on a train track, and the train's coming to him, and as he shuts the blind, his eyes go like this, and then there's a huge explosion. That was me. I was like, did that hurt? There was this pause, like, I think that's gonna hurt. Ah! And I was like, oh my. I said, I need to punch somebody. I've got to punch somebody. I'm sorry. But I looked at my 13-year-old. I was like, you're it. Because if I hurt these two, I'm stuck with eyebrows that are like this. Why in the world would I do that? And what does this have to do with being brave? Gentlemen, that was brave. You have no idea. The human beings, if they are a female sitting next to you, oh my gosh, ladies, my respect for you is just. But I've got to ask, why? Why? Why would you do this?
Because I'm too lazy to please them. I'll pay someone to do it.
Well, what I'm saying is, why would you? We like you anyway. It's okay. We don't care. We really don't. We're just happy that you sit next to us. That's it. But why am I telling you this story? For the past 20 years, their entire existence, I was living a lie. I was not true to myself. I was doing whatever it took to make sure I kept up appearances. Whatever it took to make sure people saw that, oh, the relationships I were in, I was happy, I was healthy, I was thriving, oh, this is good. When it wasn't. I lost myself. And in the process of losing who I was, I lost them. My friends, I'm here to tell you, do not compromise who you are. You are an incredible individual. You are somebody that has goals and dreams that have to be fulfilled. They've got to be. Because no one else can do them. And it's not a cliche thing to say, oh, somebody in here may be the next president. Somebody in here may be the next representative. Somebody in here may be the next senator who actually makes a change for the better for people. And the fact is, if you compromise that, if you listen to what people say that you should do and what you should say and how you should act, you are going to lose out on the dream that was built exactly for you. That's yours. And I sat there through that pain, knowing in my heart, this is me. I'm finally the dad that I want to be. And my friends, it's a lonely road to walk. But it doesn't have to be. Because I guarantee you that if you find other people who have not compromised themselves, and you link up with those folks who are true to who they are and who could care less about what other people think of them, when you link together with folks like that, you will, not can, you will change the world. So consider this talk about life lessons a passing of the torch. Guys, quite frankly, my generation, we've only got a little bit more time to make a change. It's up to you. And I apologize. We saw it too late. We saw it too late. And that's something we'll have to carry. But as long as you stay curious, as long as you love fearlessly, and as long as you stay true to who you are, I guarantee you that this time you have in JAG will form you into the person that you need to be. My friends, thank you. God bless.